certainly is not a hard kick to play safe behind, but you could also kiss the 2 in from kicking behind off the 1. I think he might shoot the 8 into the 2 here. Try and hold for that kick shot.
Okay, so we are going to leave the action on table 2 there. If you want to keep watching that match, you can do so on the Matchroom Multisport YouTube. Jeremy, you're going to stay on, and I will leave you in the hands of Phil Yates for the next match on the main table.
Good look at Carlo Biado, one of the world's finest players, and holds so many titles, one of the few that holds the World Nineball and the US Open, the 2 biggest in our sport. Big favorite in this match, but this is the 2nd round. Trung's got a win under his belt. Certainly a man that's going to play with a little confidence, hope for some early opportunities and something to get going. Break off there to start. We'll see how the balls lay and what it gives up. But good hit on the rack. 1 flies in the side.
Yes, Jeremy, Biado breaking, and you get the impression he might be doing a lot of that in this match.
Does a lot of that in every match, it seems like. And good to have you back, Phil. Missed you at the US Open. I said it earlier in our commentary, the first match, me and Michael. Of course, Steve did a great job over there for a first-timer in the pool scene, and Scott Frost, I thought he did real well also. Of course, you're always busy.
Yeah, I really missed the US Open. It's one of those things. I was at the British Open snooker in Cheltenham, which is not alike with Atlantic City, 2 very different places. But yeah, I really missed the biggest event of the year. But what a performance from Ngo Quang Trung. What a performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were many stories at that US Open, like there always is, and such an historic event. But I feel like it could have only been better with you there. It was a great event.
Well, we're back in the saddle, as they say, Jeremy.
That's right. And so is Carlo Biado. Carlo, of course, going to play it like it's the final, and it's just how the type of professional he is. And I don't know a great deal about Trung, but I'm sure Carlo has a clue. And of course, like I said, he's won a match already, so can't overlook. Nice kick shot there to hold the cue ball. Maybe a little fortunate catching the point. Should be the short cue maybe here for Carlo.
Now, I've been speaking to our Vietnamese TV crew here who are doing a wonderful job behind the scenes, and they tell me, I hope I get this right, it's Ngo Quang Trung. Maybe not even Trung, but let's just say that's the way it's spelled for us.
Yeah, Ngo like that, I believe, is how NGO is. And of course, Ng is a bit more popular name. Known around the world, just NG, but I think you add the O, it changes a little bit.
Yeah, I think if you add another O, it's no-go, and if Carlo Biado plays his best in terms of getting through to the next round, it might well be no-go for the local, but we'll see how he fares.
Well, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of great players in the next 5-6 years from this country, and many reasons I think that. The pool bug is there, the 9-ball bug is in place, and everyone that was really at the event at the Perry Open was so young, and there were such enthusiastic fans. You got to believe the numbers are there, and most all of them play. And if that 3-ball he just knocked in is any indication, a very, very good stroke.
already had a match today, came through the first round against a fellow countryman. 9-4.
You had a lot of work here with these last 5 balls. Anytime you have the 6th ball here and he can't get above it, so he's got to play a difficult shot down the rail, but he has to carry angle on it, which makes the shot more difficult, so he can get position on the brown 7. And I tell you, I think these tables are starting to rear their teeth here even on day 1, so very demanding shot here on the green 6. Kind of rearing up here like he's going to put a lot of power. Wow, he went all the way to the top rail with the cue ball. I thought we'd see a little bit more of a stun, just getting over on the 7. Carlo Biado in great position now to take game 1.
Yeah, the young Vietnamese beat Tran Trung Tre 9-4 in the first round, but coming up against Biado is an entirely different and, some might say, daunting prospect.
Yeah, he may come across just mildly track. Okay, he played for a heavy angle, so that means he's going to come 2 rails behind the 8. Or at least that's what you figure.
There are so many potential winners of this title come Sunday night, and you have to put Biado on the shortlist.
No, absolutely. I mean,
oh, but he's missed the 7 ball there.
Yeah, a little quick with it maybe. First game, and that's how that happens a lot. But I mean, he's always a threat no matter what part of the world we're in. But I mean, not far from the Philippines here, and I think that does play into things.
If you've been with us all day, you will have noticed a common theme. Pretty much the opening rack in every match has been mistake-ridden, and you've seen players struggle to get used to conditions immediately. Even the greats.
Yeah. Billy just played on this table here, and he said it got a little warm, the conditions over there for him. Of course, I think there were some other things to do with him getting warm. I thought he was playing a little fast around the table, and of course your adrenaline's going, and if you're rushing a little bit, I think you tend to get it going even more. And now Carlo Biado, no doubt, going to clean these 3 up.
Yeah, meat and drink for him. I've got a theory about Billy Thorpe and about Shane Walford, which I'm going to share with you, Jeremy, when this 9 ball goes in. 1-0 to Biado. With the US Moscone Cup points situation being so tight and it being wide open as to who plays on the team, and let's face it, on the best USA team now for years, I think those Americans on the bubble will be under more pressure than anyone in this building all week, until they're knocked out, of course. And there's a parallel. You know, you talk to golfers on the European Tour and the old guys, the veterans from South Africa and Australia, they used to say, we loved Ryder Cup year because all of the European players were under pressure to make the team, and quite often the South Africans, the Australians, the New Zealanders and players from outside Europe used to take advantage of that by winning lots of tournaments because the other guys were under that extra layer of pressure. And maybe that's the case here this week as well. Opponents of the likes of Thorpe and Walford will find that their rivals are wanting it so badly, maybe they'll take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, to be fair about it, I mean, with that breaking news yesterday, I think that adds maybe not more pressure, because I think the pressure's there already, but maybe, you know, just a curveball a little bit that they didn't expect, and I completely understand it. But again, you know, that's why the training is so important that way, because anything that comes up, you can really start to rely on your process and whatnot. And, you know, you think about it, I mean, the Euros have been under that pressure a lot the last few years, players on the bubble and so many that potentials making it, right? But, you know, anything that's tough, well, you know the saying, if it doesn't kill you, it only makes you better.
As regular listeners of our commentary know, myself and Jeremy love our baseball, and I think the addition of Fedor Gorst is a little bit like having a really good lineup with 3, 4, 5.
Right.
This is a 1, 2, 3 strike force. You've got Skylar Woodward and Fedor there, and we all know Shane Van Boening is going to play. And that is a phenomenal strike force, potentially to hit the Europeans with. So the other guys who are playing for a place, the likes of Tyler Steyer, and we just mentioned Walford, Billy Thorpe and the like, before they were playing on a team that was hoping to win. Now they're playing for a place on a team that's got a wonderful chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if you just think about, you know, it's something special to get out and be able to be hanging out with Shane and getting those you know, tips here and there. And if you're paying attention, it doesn't have to be tips he's telling you. You just get them anyways. And I think the same thing's going to happen with Federer. And I tell you, these pockets are tough for day one.
They are indeed. Playing for a place in winners' qualification, of course, this.
Nice shot there, and it's going to be a difficult hit here on the blue too. May tie the 2-7 up here and surrender ball in hand, trying to improve his situation on the next. He's going to play the curve shot. Can't get a ton of speed on this. Got to hope something goofy happens, and maybe it has. Yeah, speaking of baseball, it's heating up. It's playoffs. There's nothing better in playoff baseball besides Nineball pool, of course.
Well, I had a real bonus this morning, Jeremy, because of the jet lag. I woke up very, very early in the hotel, flicking through the channels, and it was a Japanese channel showing the second game of the Braves-Phillies series. So that was a real bonus for me. The only problem was I had to leave at the 8th, and of course I didn't see all the drama with the Braves coming back to win it.
Yeah, I tell you, it's watching online, of course, people have different comments about different things, but and that Braves team, it's one of the best regular seasons, really just, you know, just incredible. That team, they sustained, you know, we saw the Rays have, I don't know if it's the best start ever in baseball, but it was one of them. Very hard to sustain. The Orioles overtook them. But the Braves have been incredible. But when you draw one of your division rivals, you throw everything out the window when it comes playoff time, in my opinion. And I think that's the case in that series. Now back to the 9-ball pool. Doesn't want to open this 3-7. That could be a little bit of a protection here. Great effort. Now we'll see how good Carlo's feeling. Look, I think the 3-7 is a playable combination in top right, so I'm sure Carlo will recognize that that's on, and if so, doesn't really have to work the cue ball back on this end of the table, can just cut the 2 in, go back and forth, and take on that 3-7. And I'm almost 100% you can make it, even though you may have to throw it a bit. Now, if he doesn't like it, he may cue and try and come back and forth and break him out. Yeah, the 3-7 is definitely playable. That's why I said when you recognize a combination like this, you don't have to get close to it. Now this is where, when you're talking about 2 balls frozen and they're going to throw, it's all about speed, but also we're in damp conditions. So damp conditions can make some strange things happen on shots like this, like maybe get too much throw on the ball. Really nice. I think the green 6 may get him here. This needs to travel. Well, it may have opened up. No, he's definitely snookered. Of course, I always talk about Spaniards, FSR and David Alcady being 2 of the best with the rail first shot, but maybe the Filipinos, all in all, as a whole, are the best ever. Maybe the ones that really kind of perfected the rail first shot. A real good opportunity now. First real good one for Ngo. Now we'll see the experience, a ball hanging, right? Difficult to play, the speed and contact, get the line right. I did really well, really nice.
So many unknown quantities in this tournament. Many of them hailing from right here in Vietnam.
Yeah, well, that seems like unknown, even though the names seem to come out with the Filipino players. But I was so impressed with so many young names from the Philippines I saw at the Perry Open that I really didn't know or heard of even. And it seemed like they're all quality, even though, same with Feliciano, even though he wasn't one of the younger Filipinos. Going to fluke the 8 here.
Well, there's one thing about having a fluke. You have to take advantage, and that was a really good pot on the 6.
Yeah, and I like him backing off here, stretching a little bit. When you make a big shot, it's easy to get down and just kind of overlook what you're doing, and just like when you make a kind of a poor shot. So.
Well, there you go. Big cheers. And the rack is on the board. So Carlo Biado pegged back. Plenty of big names in action right now on table 2 on the Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel. David Al-Kaidi 2-1 up against a tough opponent, Jeffrey Roda from the Philippines. Nguyen Antoine has beaten JJ 4-9-1. Michael Feliciano come through 9-3 against Michael Jednak. Lee Van Corteza could did fine against Nguyen Phuc Long, but he came through 9-8 anyway. Skylar Woodward on the hill against Julian Serradia of Switzerland. Now the winner of this match will take on either James Arenas or Pierre Francesco Garcia in the next round. Arenas leading that one narrowly 5-4. Masato Yoshioka 6-2 up on Max Eberle. And it's a 5-3 lead for Fedor Gorst over Marvin Assis. John Morra on the hill also against Nguyen Huang Nat.
Tell you, Michael, we were talking about our picks for the tournament. He wants me to pick a non-American to see who I like, and actually got lucky at the U.S. Open and picked the winner, but I thought he would beat down in it anyways. But he brought up a name right there. I picked Naoki Oi for this event, but I think John Moore may be another one of those, makes a real deep run. He's really been playing well, played well at the Perry, I think, which is going to bode well and also lead into another subject that, we've seen Skylar had a great year, right? But he struggled early in almost every one of these tournaments, the first or second match. And I don't think any coincidence that he's coming off stronger here the first or second match, because he came early for the Perry Open and really got himself acclimated to this side of the world. I think that's very important for the players to remember. Very hard to show up the day before coming halfway around the world and play your best pool. Even if you feel good, you don't realize, how taxing it is.
Hooked by the 8, but that kind of hook for a Filipino is entirely routine. Carlo Biado, you know, has got very good memories of playing pool here in Vietnam. He's won 3 gold medals in the Southeast Asian Games, representing the Philippines, of course. And one of those was collected here in 2021.
Well, I forget which Filipino player I saw it was saying they won a tournament here some 12 years ago. That was the last time they were here in Vietnam. And I'm trying to remember who it was. I kind of thought it was Carlo, but now that you said that, it certainly wasn't. Okay, so Nick kind of putting a few safeties together, trying to produce a shot. Now he's got another on a 1-3 combo. Kind of ball you'd like to drag in if possible. And
yeah, that Southeast Asian Games gold medal was in 2021, definitely. It was in 10 ball, and he overcame Ngo Chua, his fellow countryman, in the final. Not just in Vietnam, right here in Hanoi.
yeah, I heard an outside rumor that Efren may show his face here this week.
Well, I've heard that rumor also. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, I mean, that would bring them all out. I mean, they're all going to come out anyways. That just may bring them out earlier.
After this shot, Jeremy, I'm going to give you some good news. The aforementioned Skylar Woodward is through. He's beaten Julian Siradia of Switzerland 9-3.
Yeah, and Skylar played well at the Perry. He was in position to advance and soon to be inducted Hall of Famer. Niels Fan really made an incredible comeback. I think Skylar was up 7-0. And then ended up losing that match. I believe it was 10-8. And Niels, of course, played a great match in the next. And just had one shot he'd like to have back towards the end of the match, or else he may have been in that final in the Perry.
So after seeing his opponent equalise, I think that's the best rack that Biado has played in the match so far. He leads 2-1. Masato Yoshioka, who's a coach in his native Japan, he's teaching Max Eberle a lesson, you could say, on table 4, leading 6-2. Fedor Gorsh lead over Marvin Assis is now 6-3. James Arenas and Pierre Francesco Garcia, they're locked together at 5-5 right now. It's been a great day for Damien Massey of the UK. He's 6-0 up on Ma Pham Kong Bang. Moritz Neuhausen wasn't feeling too well at the US Open. He was telling me yesterday he was suffering from dizzy spells and didn't feel right at the table at all. He's still not 100%. But he feels much better, and maybe that's reflected in the fact he's 4-1 up on table 8 against Nizam Uddin. Alex Kazakis, former World Masters champion, he's 7-1 up against Ali Percival of the UK.
Yeah, well, that's the break-off you'd like to repeat the entire week. Of course, we know that can't happen, but once you start to feel that sweet spot, you kind of think you can do somewhat the same quite often. Of course, the pool balls don't always agree, but now in a great position, and I think these tables are going to get really difficult as we go, so Carlo doesn't bother him at all, really, any conditions he plays under. Now a little bit straight, so he's going to have to take on more on the 5 to get to the 6 than maybe he wanted. Looks like he's drawing back to take a really heavy cut here, or is he going to really draw the ball? Looks like it'll be short side from the 5 to the 6.
I'm with you, Jeremy, on the conditions. He's one of the great adapters, isn't he? Adjusts, fights, understands the different way tables play, and he can cope with anything that's thrown at him in terms of conditions and opposition.
Yeah,
unfortunate nudge there, mind you.
Yeah, I think it would have been a little unfortunate not to come away with something, just because the 6 was tough, so you got to simplify it a little bit. The 7 pretty open. But I think any players that are raised under tough conditions, they seem to adapt to different conditions a little bit better. I mean, where I'm from was very difficult conditions, always tough tables, tight pockets, a lot of humidity. The same in the Philippines. Fluke it? No.
It wasn't an absolute gimme, but they're the kind of balls you fully expect someone of Carlo Biado's stature to knock in. It's been a common feature on this table all day, though. Lots and lots of balls have been missed.
Yeah, and a tough one to roll in the side. Probably the proper shot, though. That way you can hold position on the 9. He's kind of a little bit elevated, but not really hitting down on the ball too much. Yeah, he's got to just take it. Well, I'll tell you, I think he's got to just take it on the side. Ooh, he's going to play safe. If he's doing anything what I think by measuring that out, thinking of double banking the 8 to the top rail as he brings the cue ball 1 rail back down by the 9. Not a bad shot. Oh, now he's really elevated on the ball, so.
Well, if you're going to play safe, you've got to get it safer than that.
Yeah, and I don't think the cross-side bank was what he was really going for. I think he was trying to get the 8 in a more difficult position and the cue ball down on the top short rail. May draw this. Look, just get past the side 1 rail. You don't have to get all the way back down, and that makes the shot a lot easier.
Well, there was one error, the missed 8 ball, but when he got his second chance, Biado stepped in, so he leads by 3 racks to 1. What an early birthday present this would be for him. He celebrates a milestone birthday at the end of the month. He will turn 40. There's the 8 and the 9. That was just a wee bit tricky. For the man who's had a wonderful career, highlighted by, well, you could say his gold medal in the 2017 World Games. I would say the fact he's a former world 9-ball champion and a former US Open champion as well, beating Aloysius Yap in the final in 2021. Yap looked really good going into that match, but Biado had his measure.
Yeah, and he had a pretty decent lead, if I remember correctly also, and Yap just kind of took apart everyone in that tournament. And I would say there for a little bit we kind of overlooked Carlo in that event, at least I did, until we got to like the final 8. But you talked about that landmark birthday at 40 years old. Of course, we know Shane Van Moning turned 40 this year, and he'll certainly be the one carrying that green jacket next year. But I think it'll be Carlo after that, or at least be one of the odds-on favorites.
It was an absolutely fantastic break. The one went in, which is what you always want. Simple pot on the 2 to get position on the 3 to get position on the 4. When I'm commentating with Jeremy, I'm always rationed the amount of road maps I can say. So I'm not going to use my road map up here because it isn't one, but it's still a very, very good layout.
Yeah, well, I think the pockets that we're playing on for the most part on the World Nineball Tour, at least the bigger events, kind of make that road map saying a little far and fewer between.
I think the informal agreement, Jeremy, is I'm allowed one every 2 days.
Oh,
so
there you go.
I'm not going to use it for this one.
It's probably in the rule book, huh?
I'll tell you a story about rationing mentions at the end of this rack. It's an unwritten agreement I've got with a very good commentary friend of mine. Biado has not been at his best so far, but you can just see, bear in mind this is his first match after a walkover in the first round, you can just see he's getting into his stride.
Yeah, and getting a little more speedy around the table, feeling pretty good. And I think this table, you know how we talk about the tables have to settle in a little bit. And usually every night the technical people will adjust the tables, get them better. I think this table's had a little bit of a roll, which I don't think has caused a ton of misses, but maybe got the cue ball out of line a little bit more from time to time.
So basically, in terms of rationing commentary mentions, one of my best pals in terms of snooker commentary is a gentleman, and I use that word correctly, gentleman called Neil Folds. And Neil holds the record for the highest break in professional snooker without winning the frame. He made an 80 break way back when. 10 reds, 10 blacks. Took on a cheeky red because he was going for a 1-4-7, thinking the match was, or the frame was out of reach because there was only 67 points left on the table. He missed the red. His opponent, the late great Willie Thorne, got the snookers he needed, cleared up and won the frame. So Neil holds that unwanted record, the highest break when you didn't actually win the frame, and I'm allowed to mention that once a year.
Okay.
I haven't used it yet this year, by the way.
So it's over with now?
Yeah, it's, well, yeah, I'm allowed to mention it.
In snooker, you mean?
Yeah, in snooker. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Ooh, sorry there, Phil. Thought we were going to see a golden break. Don't recall one on this table yet today?
No, definitely not, no.
Boy, that one looked real good for a moment. And another great break off. The 2 goes in the side, the 3 near. You can see the 4 and 5 not far. I think the 2 goes, but he's got to elevate, so this isn't easy. Remember, the side gives you no room, really, for error.
You know, he's not a classical cueman, is he? But he gets the job done. And he knows the game inside out.
Yeah, and it's, one of the reasons the Filipinos, this could need a little rub here to get a shot. He wanted to make sure he didn't catch the 8. He just didn't hit the ball very well as far as the line of the cue ball. But the Filipino players, one reason they're so great, of course, they have so many vets there that help the players, and maybe they help them by beating them a little bit at times, but they all start young. And most of those little things, like Carlo, he always cues on the left side of the ball, and then he comes back to where he wants. So some of those things you wouldn't necessarily teach in a perfect world, but like golf, there's so many things those golfers do a little different, but at impact, it seems like a lot of them are very, very similar. And it's the same. It's the same with the great players in pool.
Well, if he does lose this rack, he was the architect of his own downfall with that poor positional shot. Quang Trung has the chance here to recover to 4-2. And a very good chance it is to boot.
We've already seen him knocking some nice ones. That 6 ball to get himself on the board, really. Carlo had made a couple runs, so now a chance to cut it to 4-2. Balls in the open. Just got to, again, pay attention to every shot on what I think are not only getting a little difficult, going to get much more difficult as we move through this week at the Hanoi Open. Been to Vietnam before, Phil?
First time here. Been to Thailand many times for snooker, many times. But yeah, my first time here, and the impressions are very good indeed.
Yeah, well, the food and it's been excellent. The people have been even better. The scooters are something to see in the streets, and yeah, unfortunate. These beautiful countries are so far away from America. So I'll tell you what, definitely recommend to anyone, if you can, get to Hanoi and enjoy yourself.
And I'll tell you what, the young Vietnamese player there enjoyed that rack. So Carlo Biado made a positional misjudgment, hooked himself, and the indirect consequence was a chance which was taken. 4-2. Now how about James Arenas, one half of the Filipino World Cup winning pairing with Johan Chur? Well, Arenas finds himself 7-5 down against Pierre Francesco Garcia. As I mentioned before, the winner of that match, which is taking place over on table 22, will play the winner of this one in winners qualification. Fedor Gorst inexorably moving towards the winning line against Marvin Assis at 7-3. The undefeated run, the unblemished run of Damien Massey continues. He's now 7-0 up on Mai Pham Kong Bang.
All right, a little bit of a thin hit on the 1. Usually gives us not as much movement on the rack. So only a couple balls up table. I'm not sure if Carlo can get at the 1. He'll certainly let us know his reaction to this break and what he has left. One thing about Carlo Biado, of course, there's all kinds of great players, and when you talk about his level and so many others, they're very similar, but he's just one of those players that knows how to close, and knows how to get it done, and that's really the big difference in the amount of titles he has compared to some others.
I would say, and this is a comparative weakness, not an actual weakness, maybe sometimes when he's potting from distance he's not entirely mustard, but that was a cracking pot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the miss on the 2 follows. Not entirely with it yet.
Yeah, and it seems like all those things get better as he moves through the tournament, and of course that may be an obvious statement, but I'm not talking about just, I'm talking about more of what you said right there, the long pot and avoiding some simple misses. Nice shot there. Very good speed control. It's only near the rail with the cue ball, but he is going to get an angle. And we'll see kind of a funny 7 ball. I don't know if it goes by the 8. That's later in the rack, but we may end up seeing a 7-9 combination to end this rack. I'll tell you what, pretty confident stroke. This may have gotten kind of treacherously near a scratch. I think he can avoid it. Think it's much of a problem.
Would have liked just a touch more speed on the cue ball there. He's quite thin on the 5, as you can see, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah. Normally when you have a problem here, you kind of underhit it. Realize you can put a little more speed than what it looks like usually. Get a little better contact on the purple 5. And this is what I was talking about. Unless the 7 doesn't go by the 8, this is kind of a goofy situation, very difficult to get position, and it could be a combination to get on the board again and cut this lead.
You called it, Jeremy, a while ago, the 7-9 combination, which is coming up right now.
Yeah, and it looks perfect position. Because anytime they're close, you have to cut the ball a lot. Say the cue ball's out of line, you can get a little friction, a little bit of a kick on the ball. You can tell he's got some fans out there.
Ngo Quang Trung, he was in a little bit of trouble when he trailed 4-1. Now prospects are looking considerably brighter, and the face of Carlo Biado is looking sterner. The score is 4-3. Now, I'm not saying Biado's doing this, Jeremy, but I'm going to ask you this question. During your lengthy and very successful career, did you ever take a lesser known and unknown opponent for granted and regretted it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was so conscious, you know, maybe. But me, I don't know. I rarely went to a tournament. I say that, I mean, it happened, but I rarely went to a tournament not prepared, meaning I tried to practice, and the way I practiced was very hard, just like I was in a match. So it was easy for me to fall into my own zone and forget about my opponent totally. I believed in that. But yeah, it happens to all of us. Yeah, 100%. So, and I think maybe where it happened to me a few times was even deeper in the tournament. I know this sounds crazy, and watch out for the cue ball, but against a player that was a good player, obviously, because they were deep in the tournament, but I felt like I was in a much more seasoned position. Like I expected them to make mistakes because of the moment they were in, and maybe it was the first time they were in the semifinal of a big tournament or something like that. So maybe not always. I looked at the ones where I felt like I was a big favorite. That was the time to really work on my process and really get it myself in the kind of mental state I wanted to be in to win the event.
And clearly Biado,
if that answers it all.
No, it does, yeah. But clearly, Biado here is not as sharp as he should be mentally. The carom there didn't work out. The 6 is over the pocket. The 1 available for his rival. Or at least it was.
Yeah, does he play the 1-9 combo here with a little bit of a big pocket? He can certainly make the 1. So I bet unless he's worried about the cue ball here, I gotta believe he's gonna try and run out instead of playing the combination. Combos though, I mean, it's there. You'll notice how he's always cueing a little on the left side of the ball, kind of like Bustamante, not as severe. He did play the combo. He caught it very thick. You expected to maybe catch a little piece of the pink, but he caught quite a bit of it. Tell you one thing though, and this has pretty much always been the case, but maybe even more so now, the fall schedule in 9-ball pool is taxing. I mean, it is a lot of traveling, a lot of work, and a lot of high-stress tournaments as well, meaning events that can make a career, can change your career a little bit sponsor-wise and whatnot, maybe the Moscone Cup. So, you know, if you just look at what these players have done, kind of globe-trotting around the world the last month or so, 2 months, and, you know, it's easy to lose your sorts a little bit from match to match.
Yes, and it doesn't end here because there's other events coming up down the line, such as the International Open.
Yeah, there's a great ranking event at Shane Wolford's parents' pool room there in Roanoke right before the International. Also right there in Virginia, which you'll see a very class field. I'll tell you a story. You may have heard about it because I know you were trying your best to keep up with the U.S. Open as much as you could, even though you were involved in the snooker, just knowing you. But did you hear about the Chuck Carlisle story? A friend of mine from back in the Dallas area passed away very, very, very unexpectedly. Caught an infection. I believe it was maybe a blood infection, maybe sepsis, but passed away in a short period of time. And so he had signed up for the U.S. Open. Him and his friend Mark Oler were going to travel. All he wanted to do was play Skylar Woodward. That's all he wanted to do because he loved Sky so much, you know. And so, of course, he passed away, and Debbie, his wife, and son contacted and asked if his son could replace him in the tournament. And they, of course, said yes.
Quite rightly so, yeah.
Yeah, and he draws Skylar Woodward first in the tournament. How great was that?
Incredible.
Yeah, you just can't replace sports, can you?
Divine intervention.
Absolutely. Oh, watch out, cue ball. This is almost like the Billy Thorpe match to me, meaning when it was the tough shot, it's almost like it's grabbed Carlo's attention like it did Billy, and he didn't really miss. It was a few of the ducks that really got away.
Right from the first match today, we've seen this pattern reoccur. Anton Raga, yes, he won his first match 9-0 by whitewash, but he did make a few errors, but he also produced some wonderful shot making. And we've just seen an example of Biado shot making there, and then the three ball, well, he's out of shape.
Yeah, he was wanting to bump it, but like the one ball, a long one ball he made that you commented on, it was so nice a shot, and then missing what looked like a pretty easy two ball the very next shot. And that's kind of what I mean with the travel and all that. You know, it's easy to get a little lost, not only from match to match, game to game, and maybe sometimes shot to shot. Okay, you can see the rails kind of livening up a little bit. Okay, he's just got to worry about the 8 a little. Wants to play this a hair thick into the rail probably. That way the 5 comes. He played it on the thin side, and that actually could have got away from him even if he did make the 6.
Yeah, he missed the 6 by a fraction with the 5, but really should have been the contact needed.
I don't think he can get to the left of this. He may play the 6 with the kiss shot if he could. With the 6 hanging, he really needs the snooker here, and I think he did get it. Carlo probably comes 2 rails, going in between the 7-8 with the cue ball to the right long rail, coming underneath the 5, trying to kind of kick and stick with a little top left English. Oh, he's going for the jump. Oh, the jump and then the cut combo. Oh, he played the kiss shot. Very, very good. 9 going to get out of the way. I don't think it did, so I don't really think an offensive shot is possible. It's going to get in the gap.
As we told you before, over 80 Vietnamese players in the field, which is roughly a third, and you're just waiting for at least one of them to produce a big story. Maybe this is it.
Well, like I said earlier, is he going to get a nice rub on the 9? It's close to the snooker. I said it earlier, I really believe, you know, we've already produced, Vietnam's already produced some fine players the last several years, and but I really believe in the next 5 or 6 you're going to see a lot more, and I think the technique is going to get better. I mean, at the Perry Open, you should have seen how young the fans were. It was amazing, and you know, you just don't come that many deep if quite a few of them don't play, right? Look at this. Pool's amazing. How the speed. One ball out in the center of the table. Not looking for the jump cue here. Might get action on the 9. Or the 7.
I'll tell you what. He's having some luck. Can he ride it?
Surprised he's not drawing this ball going forward. The 3 rails with inside. With that angle, you would kind of feel like he would draw the cue ball up the right side for the 9 in the left middle, but of course hard to doubt any of these players there at the table.
With Carlo Biado's level of skill, it seems almost unfair if he also mines a rich vein of fortune. That's what happened in that instance, and that's why his Vietnamese rival is again trailing by a couple. I can tell you John Morra is through 9-1 over Ngo Quang Nat. Also a recent winner, Alexander Kazakis, 9-2 over Ali Percival of the UK. And Damien Massey has completed a 9-0 win over Mai Pham Kong Bang. So Massey will play Morra in winners' qualification. Another winner. How often do we say this? Fedor Gorsht, 9-3 over Marvin Assis. We talk about Fedor Gorsht wins all the time, but of course now he's a member of the US Moscone Cup team, captained by my co-commentator.
Yeah, I can't wait to work with him some. We talked about a few things over the last few months. Just, I think it's going to be a blessing for the entire team. I know I'm looking at it like a blessing. I'm looking to learn as much as I can offer with that young man. And I'll tell you what, you got to appreciate him, how hard he works, all the time he puts in, refreshing attitude, and he just still feels like he's got a lot of ways to improve. And that doesn't mean just consistency. That just means improvement overall.
Cole was saying that his only Moscone Cup previously was the COVID edition in 2020, which was played without crowds, and he said he might find it difficult to cope with the atmosphere at Ali Pali, because obviously he'll get some form of stick, if you like, from the home crowd. But I think he's got the temperament to cope with it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is, you got to experience it. You almost got to experience a fumble here and there, which he had in 2020 without the crowd. And the thing with a lot of those greats is, you know, they want it, so they're human. So they got to find that happy medium, and if you find anywhere close to that happy medium at Ali Pali and the Moscone, you're doing pretty good. But he was definitely born for it, you know. Okay, definitely out of sorts a little bit. He wanted to stay underneath that ball, or at least that's normally how he would play it. Oh, he's like wanting to come around 3 rails, so even missing his mark there. I think this cuts on the side. I don't mind the shot myself. Just pull it back to the end rail. It's always a very small looking pocket from this kind of situation. He's going to go ahead and play safe. I think he's supposed to shoot at this myself. It sits nice to where the object ball will have a little turn from that outer point. ball.
I'll tell you one thing, how this table has changed as the day has gone on, the characteristics of the table. When we did the first match this morning, Carl and I, the cushions were like lightning. They were bouncy in the extreme. They have calmed down somewhat, thankfully, because it was a really fast playing surface, and the cushions were maybe even faster than the bed.
Yeah, well, I think a little air conditioning got in there, probably calmed them down a bit. That's the thing, you have to recognize when they're changing. Nice shot there. And that's the speed that the floating ball that's tough that I always thought Carlo excelled at.
So the former US Open and World Nineball champion is 66% of the way towards victory. 2/3. He leads by 6 racks to 3. Now, by the way, we're talking about Fedor Gorst here. Understandably so, because his inclusion in the USA Moscone Cup team this year and in future years, of course, and I think that's the big thing. Was a seismic story yesterday on the day he won the Perry Open, in itself a World Nineball Tour ranking event. Well, Gorst is through to win his qualification. His next opponent will be either Masato Yoshioka or Max Eberle. Looks like possibly being Yoshioka. He's on the hill at 8-6.
I'll tell you, Yoshioka, he can fool you. If you didn't know how great a player he is, he just kind of quietly goes about his business when he's running out, keeps it simple, and just kind of plays into the match when I watch him play. He just doesn't really seem like he has that big of expectations, even though he does, but he just kind of lets it unfold. And I'll tell you, Carlo's had a few mistakes, but the break overall has been pretty darn good, and that's got to be a nice sign for him moving forward. Can see a little bit of the blue too, maybe a little more than I think. He's putting the 2 near the 9. Now the 2's going to rest on the rail along with the cue ball, so very good speed. I'm not sure what the shot is here. I mean, you can do a lot. This is tough the way it laid, yeah. Anytime that cue ball's in the middle of the end rail and the object ball's on the other middle end rail, both near froze.
This isn't being harsh, it's just being candid. He's raw, clearly, isn't he? And that rawness translating into a few blunders. And we all know what Biado is capable of doing if he's given plenty of quality table time.
Yeah, and he'll take advantage of that. Also looking forward in this tournament, not looking past his opponent. Of course, you can't win those titles having that kind of mindset. But, you know, and the thing about it is a 9-ball pool, some of those little, you know, intricate things in the game tactically or whatever you want to call it, they don't always come up in a match. So you'll find a player like, you know, like Ngo that could win matches over a better player just because, you know, their advantage really just doesn't come up. So, and normally when you're moving along in your pool game, you actually get to where you can actually run out a little better than you can play tactically and all the other things.
You know as well as I do, though, Jeremy, we've done an awful lot of these major World Nineball Tour ranking events now, these 256 player events. And over the course of the first 2 days, yes, occasionally you get a massive upset, but they are still a rarity, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I'll tell you one thing we have seen, though, those mild upsets have not been few and far between. And I'll tell you, the World 9-Ball Tour has a big part to do with that, along with the better players. Those are the ones that are teaching these other players, whether they know it or not.
One of Carlo Biado's fellow countrymen is through to the next round, Patrick Gonzalez. He's beaten Sharik Saeed of Singapore, 9-6. Tim de Ruyter, he finds himself 5-4 up on Dang Than Kien. Moritz Neuhausen, having made a quick start against Nizam Udin, is being pegged back. Neuhausen's lead is now just 6-4.
What country is that for Udin?
I think it's Bangladesh.
Okay. Well, I met some players yesterday from Brunei, and just made me remember when the Prince of Brunei played the World Nineball Championships back in the day. It was the most incredible scene when we had group stages. So he'd come in for his group stage match, and there would be like 500 people show up for that race to 6 or 7, depending on what format we were playing. And then it was the greatest thing ever. And as soon as he was done, they'd be out the door, right?
Yeah.
But it was really fun to watch. And he played that tournament for a good about 5 years or so, 6 years. Talked to those gentlemen. They said he just doesn't play much anymore. Probably got his hands full with a ton of things.
Yeah, he was the Sultan's son, obviously, and had a very deep love of pool.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, he just loved going to that event and being involved, and he won the occasional match as well.
Oh, he had some talent. I thought, if he was one of those types like we talk about with many others, if they got to spend a lot of time, continual time with the better players, I think we'd have seen him develop into a very, very nice player. All right, overcutting the 2 and running the cue ball.
The one thing with him, he wasn't under pressure in terms of trying to eke out some prize money. I think the $30,000 first prize here would not even register on the scale with him. It would be like us losing a dime.
Yeah, what a shot here. Is he going to get in that little gap? I don't think so, but pretty smooth work there from Carlo. And at that time, I don't know, but was the family like the richest in the world or close to it?
I actually saw him. He came to a prize giving at a European Senior Tour event, golf, that I was
The Sultan or the Prince?
The Prince,
oh, okay.
yeah. And he came to this prize giving at this European Senior Tour event at a hotel in Brunei called the Empire. And there's a Jack Nicklaus golf course attached. It is a beautiful place. And it was a great golf tournament, actually. But it was a fleeting visit. I wanted to say hi and speak about pool, but it was impossible to get anywhere near him.
Yeah, I think I did get to shake his hand a couple times, and but again, he wasn't one. He came in for his practice a little bit, really played his matches, and kind of exited. And kind of understand why after seeing all the lines of cars that would be coming into near the venue to come see him play. He's just so loved.
Like you when you're back in Texas, Jeremy, you've got the entourage.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know about that, yeah.
Now that was a very good end result for Biado. Yes, he made contact, so he gave himself a chance. But look at that 7-ball doing him a massive favour.
Yeah, and we'll get on with this one, but a couple times he was real close to qualifying, and of course, just to do anything for the pool world, all of us were hoping he would qualify, the Prince of Brunei, and get into that final 64 stage.
Now that was a nice shot, cushion first from Quang Trung. Not just potting the 3, but retaining position on the 4. What can he do here? He has to get this rack on the board, because if Biado got on the hill at 8-3, it would be effectively over.
He's got a little angle, but he needs a hair of side spin. This is going to be overhit a bit. Well, actually checked up nice. I thought it was going to be another 5 or 6 inches.
As we said before, this table, both surface and cushions, definitely a slowdown as the day's gone on.
great position now. You know, we talk about, you know, 7-4, that score, of course, there's a lead there, but in the winter break format, something that you're within striking distance, that's for sure. This is where that table, I think it goes a little that way towards the right if you're watching. I think that he did overhit it a bit, but maybe that had a little something to do with him getting on top of the 9.
No mistake though, although it did wipe its feet, the 9 ball. He's acquitting himself with a certain amount of distinction here. He's got 4 racks on the board against the great Carlo Biado, who has 7. Still waiting for victory, the Filipino. Pier Francesco Garcia now leads James Arenas 8-7 on table 22. The winner of that plays the winner of the match we're watching. Masato Yoshioka's lead over Max Eberle has been gradually whittled down. Yoshioka now only 8-7 up. That's a match to determine who plays Fedor Korsh next.
I can see him, he's at the table though, Yoshioka, so doesn't look too unhappy about it either, so we'll see if he can get that job done. You
know, you were saying before about the Sultan of Brunei's son playing pool and how great it would be had he qualified from the groups all those years ago. And that's, I think, the same principle with Naoki Oi. If he were to win a big event, because of his effervescent personality, I think it would be wonderful for the game. So every time he comes to one of these, he's one of the players I would love to see do really well, because I think it wouldn't be just fantastic for him as an individual, it would be fantastic for pool as a collective.
Yeah, well, Matchroom and of course everyone involved, they do, I agree with you 100% by the way, and they do such a great job with all their promotions and, you know, the production. But if you saw the promotion video for this event, which they played it yesterday during the presser, you know, it's got Oi at the very end, and I love the caption of him, and of course he always gives the best looks, but I don't know, it's just something about it makes me feel like he's going to win this tournament, and I think it would do wonders for the sport, and we may get another one of those special interviews we haven't had in a while.
And the thing is with him, folks, those interviews aren't contrived. That's
him. Yeah, absolutely. And I think at one point, you know, maybe he thought that people thought they were, so he kind of quieted them down. He wanted to remind them, hey, I'm a 9-ball player. I'm just a fun guy, that's all.
A fun guy who, when he's involved in the heat of battle, is very serious indeed.
Absolutely.
And he gets very nervous.
Yeah.
Sometimes the shoulder comes in, you can see that happening. But that shows, it demonstrates to all of us just what it means to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, he's a fast player. He's an attractive player to watch. But I think he's definitely there to win. I think he's going to make a run this week, and it wouldn't surprise me if he takes it down. All right, very odd stretch here. Not only a long ways, but over a ball a little bit. He's got to screw the cue ball back. Maybe stun. We'll see.
At no point in this match, with the possible exception of 4-1, has Biado threatened to dominate. But that said, at no point in the match have we seriously thought Quang Trung could pull out the victory. But you never know. You never know from here, especially if Biado continues to make uncharacteristic positional errors.
Yeah, when a shot like that happens, because that wasn't that thin, especially being that close, that means the tip came up, which is one of the common mistakes, so you don't quite get as much draw on the ball, kind of slides more, doesn't grab. great effort. Didn't want to draw the ball up the table for shape on the 7. Never really thought backdoor safety was coming in there, but now a return jump. Ngo Quang Trung. I like his chances. I don't know why. For some reason, I feel like he's going to knock it in. Ooh, good effort. This is very difficult as well for a few reasons. Not only the 6 is tough, he's got to avoid the side coming back and forth for the cue ball with the cue ball into a very tight upper pocket. Boy, I thought it was the best news ever that Kachi was going to be here in Hanoi. I'm sure you heard about that, Phil. And just unfortunate, I think he had some plane issues and couldn't make the trip. He was actually at the airport, got in the air, and they turned the plane around for some engine issues and couldn't get on another flight.
It's been one of those star-crossed years for Eklund Kachi. We're all wishing him a very speedy recovery. I think that really does dent his Moscone Cup chances. But we know with his class and ability, he will be back on the team at some point.
Yeah, and he's a hard worker, and I truly believe he was going to move into #1 in the world. I know it would have to do some things in the 2-year rankings. May have been hard to overcome overall, but I think that's the direction he was heading in, the way he was performing.
And so this 9-ball from middle distance, not the best positional shot again. Biado didn't really get hold of the cue ball, but this 9-ball to stand on the hill. And that's what the great champions do, and he's one of those playing his best but has the ability to knuckle down and knock in the vital balls. So Carlo Biado doubling up on Ngo Quang Trung. The scoreline reads 8-4. If Biado can get through, he will have tomorrow off in terms of competition. We know he'll be on the practice table.
Yeah,
basically by getting to winners qualification, he won't have to play again until Thursday.
Yeah, that's how the scheduling is. The players really love it. You know, either you get that first day off or you get a day off in between. I was going to comment about the practice tables. They've been non-stop packed since I got here early today, and players trying to take as much advantage as possible.
The Moritz Neuhausen lead has been reduced to 6-5 over Nizam Udin. We'll keep a close eye on that one. Neuhausen, of course, who performed with distinction alongside Joshua Filler when Germany reached the World Cup final 3 months ago. I wouldn't say by his standards Carlo Biado has performed with distinction in this match, but he's done and he's doing, it seems, enough.
Well, he's usually one that'll figure it out. I mean, we always don't play perfect. One thing he can take away from this match is he's breaking the balls really well, and you know, until we get to Saturday or Sunday in that final 16, he's probably going to play another match or two on this table #1, and it's got to be a good feeling for that. All right, big shot here to end this match. Most likely this one will do it. The 4 playable. Oh, he's overcut it.
Yeah, I think with Biado, it's been 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
All right, how's he play? Does he come 2 rails above? Does he roll into the 9, trying to hold the cue ball? This doesn't look like the worst cross-side bank to take. Looks like you can roll by the 4, kind of underneath it, with pocket speed on the bank and play it safe as well. You know, Feder Gorst, after that win yesterday at the Perry, he had a few little interviews about things, and one thing that he recognizes, and scheduling is a big part for him, is he recognizes he needs some rest. And you know, I think, like I said earlier, the fall schedule's rough, and it's one thing to play in a bunch of tournaments, but you know, it was Asia a few weeks ago for a lot of these players, back to the U.S. for so many tournaments all over the states, and then you know, back to Asia again. Well, the one thing about today's pool player athlete is they do stay in shape pretty well. And that's got to go a bit. But you see how it keeps rolling to the right a little right there? And like I said, pool tables aren't perfect. Mechanics are great, but we just got to let them settle in a little bit, and then they kind of tweak them every night as the tournament goes on.
This morning I was watching Marcel Eckhart, the referee, who does a very thorough job, and he was testing out the tables, and that was the characteristic. They were just moving to the right.
Yeah.
So tapering out as you're playing up the left-hand side cushion, as we're looking at the table, and basically tapering in as you're looking towards the right-hand side cushion.
Yeah, I noticed it, and of course we talked about it before match number 3 a little bit. They said they're going to make some adjustments with that carpet. The carpet's a little thick, so they'll get it right.
Carlo Biado on the verge of victory. David Al-Qaedi is through on table 2 over Jeffrey Rodder.
It's a good win. I mean, anytime you beat a Filipino player, and I think it was, it looked like it was going to be a tough one. Do well for your confidence, even if you are a favorite.
Another nice stroke. Not out of this yet.
No, and his last couple of breaks weren't as good, but he started off breaking okay. So you got to feel like you would have to sit Carlo down for a rack or two and some time to bring this, to make this comeback.
A warm round of applause, and rightly so. The scoreline is 8-5 now, and that's the beauty of the winner breaks format. It's not to everyone's liking. I personally love it because it means that matches of this type, they retain interest. There's always that hope that you can come back. If this was all turn and break, okay, theoretically the outsider could win, but he would have a very small chance. He's still got a small chance, but with winner breaks, you've only got to catch lightning in a bottle, and big things can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think winner breaks a little harder to play if we're playing on bigger pockets and the break rule isn't correct, the one on the spot. I think that becomes makes the game a little too easy, and you're not punished for your mistakes. But that's also the good thing, is if you come back from here, you've earned it.
By the way, as we see the table centre stage in this vast arena, you can see the David Al-Qaedi beat Jeffrey Rodder 9-4, so he now plays in winners qualification. One of the leading Filipino players, Win Antoine.
Yeah, that should be a really good match. Tuan, who kind of struggled, you know, like you said on this table, we did the commentary with his match in the second round. Really shorted up in the next match, and it's going to be a heck of a one in winners qualification for not only our last, well, not our last one, but one of our major winners this year, that being David Al-Qaedi, but a home countryman in Win Antoine. I'll tell you, here's that break. He's got a great shot on the 2. He made it. Got a lot of work with the 6, 7, 8 later. Probably got a little thinner on this 3 than he really wanted. So just got to make sure, pay attention. Yeah, I was going to say it's the type of shot when you're coming backwards with the cue ball on a froze ball, easy to pull it off that side rail.
And when one of the game's finest finds himself on the hill and the opposition misses a ball like that, there's always the chance it could be their last shot of the match. Now, these balls aren't ideal. You can see the green 6 and the 7 don't shape up too nicely, but Biado, with his mastery and his trickery and his knowledge, could find a solution.
Yeah, I thought he made duck on that 3 ball. He had a really chance to really sew him up behind the 6-7 and maybe open the 6 up a little bit. Because you don't want to get in a position where you're taking a real chance with an ugly rack, even as great as Carlo is, and 8-5. It's definitely striking distance. Now, is this too thin to maybe open the 7 up a little bit while trying to gain position? Well, he opened the 8, real smart.
Yeah, the channel is partially unblocked in terms of that 6, but the major stumbling block is the 7, of course.
Yeah, but what happens there is you really open up the safety opportunity on the 6 to knock it around the table now that the 8's moved. You just got to make one nice draw stroke here to get in that position. And you can tell right there, like if he was getting cue ball in a real good position, maybe the 6. Is he going 3 rails with inside? Trying to. Oh, he just drew it. Watch out. Wow.
I'll tell you what. We will not see him go closer to scratching without doing so than that all week. That was, I was going to say a millimetre away. It might have been less than a millimetre. That was almost in.
Yeah, and it was real deep in there. I think this is cuttable now that he's gotten in that position we talked about.
Well, we surmised it might possibly Trung's final shot. He missed the pot earlier. It was back, still in there punching.
Yeah. He wanted to come up on the 7, trying to eliminate the jump shot. That's why you saw a little grimace from Nope. Equipment with the jump cues are so incredible these days. Back in the day when I played, we had jump cues for the most part. But when they got real close, it's just still you're a big underdog to get over it.
Yeah, just caught the 7 ball en route. So from here, Quang Trung should get back to only 2 racks behind with a possible 3 to play, and from there anything can happen.
Yeah, we've already seen a little action on the 9-ball with a few of these breakoffs. Don't think he was trying to play for the corner, but he actually fell real nice. Side of the pocket. I think he was a little concerned as it was approaching the hole, but should be all right. Gotta go for the extension.
Before the match, if you'd said to me, no, Quang Trung will get 6 racks here, do you think that's possible? I would have said no, no chance. Emphatically no. I would have been entirely incorrect. still waiting for victory is Carlo Biado. If he does limp across the line, we know who will play in winners' qualification, and what a spicy match it will be. It will be his fellow Filipino James Arenas, who, having been in trouble for most of the match against Pierre Francesco Garcia, has edged it by 9 racks to 8. And another matchup has come to the fore. Sato Yoshioka has beaten Max Eberle 9-7. So Yoshioka will play Fedor Gorsht in winners' qualification. Moritz Neuhausen, he had a wobbly spell in mid-match, but he's come through 9-5 against Nizam Udin. Tim de Ruyter and Dang Than Kien locked together at 7 racks each. So some good contests going on all around this vast arena.
Yeah, we expect the second round to heat up, but I really think it has a little bit to do with the tables being pretty tough for day one. And what happens is, even the best players, if you're clearing 4 or 5 balls, you get a little out of line. You hang a ball or make a mistake with just a few apples left on the table. It's easy for an underdog to start getting a little confidence, put a few balls down and a few beads on their side. Kiss shot on the 2 here, probably wants to bank the 1 into the 6 so he can hold the 1 for position after kissing the 2 in. Well, a little unlucky not to have that much speed on the cue ball, and came all the way down table. Wow. And see, that's what happens when these matches kind of linger. Things start to go a little funny. Watch out for the scratch. This ball may not get to the side rail. Wow.
Right now, Biado's got only one emotion: relief. He wasn't sure, was he, as the cue ball came back towards him? He wasn't sure.
No, not at all. And see the players wiping the cues down quite a bit. A little sticky in here right now. Oh, that's not going to be the one that he wants. Now here it is for Carlo. Of course, can't overlook any table, I don't think. A lot of work. Demanding 1 ball. I wouldn't say super difficult, but it is demanding. I like him doing this here. Going to look. Here come 2 rails. Not really try to get any closer to the 3. Just back and forth across. It's enough angle. Probably draws over between the 5-9. Could go forward. There's enough angle to do so, but I don't see any point in dealing with the traffic. He is going to go forward.
Inching ever closer to victory. He's got the temperament to get over the line. Has he got the form? Well, he seems surprised that the 4 ball is hung there. I'm not surprised at all.
No, not at all. I mean, I walked around between matches and I've seen bunches of ball hanging in the pockets, and I've seen it on this table quite a bit as well. And tell you what, he's in really good position. It's an odd 6 ball near the side. Not sure if it's really playable in the side pocket. I don't think it is. And if it's not, he's going to have a little difficulty getting from the 6 to the 7, especially. It'd be easier to play it in the long pocket, that 6, that being the 6, and getting across for the 7. I'll tell you what, this is getting more interesting every minute. I kind of let up on it a little bit there.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need a smooth cue delivery, but under pressure they become increasingly more and more difficult.
It's a pretty smart play. Trying to use the 8 and the 9. You hear the applause. Getting down on this. Is he going to hit this real hard? Wow. It's got to go, or else it's going to leave a pretty easy shot.
The international campaigner, the international champion, that is Carlo Biado.
I'll tell you, if you just think about his game here, he's kept it simple. He's played pretty solid, knocking in the balls, and I think tactically, you know, there's been a ton of that in this match, but there's been some, and he's been okay.
Remember, Biado led 4-1, he led 6-3. Now though, his lead is 2 balls away from being reduced to only 8-7.
Maybe a little awkward stretch for the right-hander. Anytime you're coming from the corner with the body, you know, it can be a bit of a stretch.
The possibility of a major upset remains intact. It is 8-7 now for Biado, and of course, the outsider gets to break in rack 16.
Yeah, and he had a great break off in the last. Really thought he may have a chance to clear the table. Now you got to believe that this young man, if he gets a little chance, he may feel the pressure, but I guarantee you, Carlo will feel the pressure. Much closer match than what we feel it should have been.
The way it works, the pressure now switches, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden, Vietnamese player thinks he can possibly win the contest.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're wondering what our final stream match today is, well, I think these two will have expected to have been on the table a little earlier than this, but they're having to wait. Mind you, it's worth the wait. The last match is Li Kunfang of Chinese Taipei against
Shane, who had a walkover in his first round. Seems these push-outs always come up in these close matches, and here's one in game number 16. Is he thinking about not playing the push-out? I'll tell you what, looking at a rail first, it will bring the cue ball across. Tables are playing tough, so we'll see if don't really feel like he'll hang. Don't really feel like he'll hang the 2 ball, but I think fairly smart shot taking it on.
and look where that's Cue ball has come to rest in behind the 4.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about the taking on the kick instead of the rollout. You know, cue ball's heading in that direction, so. All right, he's knocked the 4 down by the 5. May make things a little easier to get on the 6. And we're just a step away from a hill match, kind of from nowhere.
We were saying earlier on, weren't we, Jeremy, about the early play in these major ranking events, that you do occasionally see a shock, but they don't exactly come along regularly. I think this would be one of the biggest shocks we've seen since the inception of the World Nineball Tour.
Yeah, absolutely. A proper one, as the English like to use that word, proper. Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe, who was it that beat FSR in that UK Open? That was a big one.
It was, and he was 6-0 down in his second match,
Yeah,
wasn't he? And
yeah.
came back to win that and got to the final. So all is not lost, even if you are defeated here. But it would be a shaker for Carlo Biado, as the cue ball stops just in the nick of time. Now is the jaw of the middle pocket in the way to get to the red 3? From his reaction, from his body language, you'd say yes.
Yeah, the 3's a ways out there, though, and the cue ball's up against the point, so usually you would have a shot. Sometimes you can almost talk yourself out of that, the way the ball sits in those side pockets.
Well, the way he knocked it in the end, he was overly dramatic, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think he was kind of wondering how it got away from him to begin with. I'm trying to think of bigger upsets we've had on tour, early stages. I mean, he's a very capable player. I actually got to play with some pool with him last week in London. Phil Wildman beat Albin Ocean this year at the UK Open, but I mean, Phil is a very good cueist, though, and I think you'll see him back out here on the World Nineball Tour. But Albin Ocean, of course, being that type of ranked player, like a highly rated player, just like Carlo Biado. Looks like he may have to stun this across between the 8 and 9, and it doesn't look too bad. I think if he goes forward, he's got to really have good speed. Yeah, I like that shot right there. I don't see anything but hill now. Could have used a little more out of that.
This result, if Ngo were to win it, would really energise the tournament on day one. A local coming good against an international winner of the very biggest events.
Well, just listen to this 9 he's about to make in a little applause. Well, just imagine if he makes the last 9 in this match.
The crowd really into this, and rightly so. Big smile on the face of Ngo. I'll tell you what, at the end of this rack, Ngo could be saying yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carlo Biado about the only one not smiling in this massive arena.
Again, just to remind you, the Vietnamese player was 4-1 down. He was 6-3 down, and Biado was on the hill at 8-5, but 3 racks in succession mean it's going down to the wire.
Yeah, and there was a little sweat there with the cue ball on that second shot. May have gotten away with a little something getting on the 3, but capable breaker, and we'll see what happens here in the case game.
one thing we could say for certain, this is the biggest rack of Ngo Quang Trung's life. And it's a pretty big rack for Carlo Biado. He doesn't want the stress and the strain and the toil of being on the one-loss side.
No, absolutely. And it's, you know, we talked about it earlier. All these players, they want to win all three, but they really want to win those first two. That's the real goal, because then you got to only win one out of your next two to get to that final 64. They want to go in there undefeated. Percentages say you draw a little easier, but you know, if you lose this match, I think he's got to win 3 matches, I believe. May only be 2, but 3 matches to get into that final 64. He broke and got a shot. Really all about this first one ball, of course, to get things started, but see, the 2 should be there. Well, Carlo's feeling good. He may not come away with a shot, but he's feeling good that he is going to come to the table. It's snookered. They're going to be the short cue, trying to knock it in the corner and draw the cue ball. Had a foul earlier in the match with the jump cue. I like the kick, yeah, myself. Yeah, that's how you want to go. You want to go a little deeper, draw the ball. That way you can come maybe backwards with the cue ball. Have some type of safety option, just in case you don't knock the one in that corner. Carlo very, very good at hitting his mark on the rail. Trying to get a portion of the one. Caught it full, so the cue ball's down here. One's going to stay close.
All you want in a Decisive is an opportunity. Here is the chance.
Yeah, and the first one, I was pretty nervous when he to win. I think he settles in on this one. I don't know if he'll make the whole clearance, but I think he will get it down and get shape. Watch out for that lower right corner. Got awfully straight, so the 2 shouldn't be a problem unless he tries to do a bit too much, but the 3 is going to be difficult no matter. Oh, wow. There's a lot of confidence there. You know, a lot of people say, let me not bobble the 2 and make sure I get a shot on the 3, but he went ahead and played it aggressive and got the cue ball off the rail, and really may serve him well trying to finish this rack. I think the 5 goes by the 9, so you want to roll forward a little bit, make sure you can reach this and gain a nice natural angle for the pink 4 to get to the back side of the purple 5. I'm really surprised he's elevated here. I thought he would level out and try and roll this ball in. Get it sweet though. So he's going to play for the 5 on the side. You could tell all the fans are nervous for him as well. Getting me a little nervous there, Phil. Boy, what a shot here though to elevate and take that on.
It is such a gargantuan scalp. To beat Carlo Biado anywhere in any tournament is a real feather in the cap, but to do it on home soil in front of plenty of folks who are willing you on. It's a memory that for him would never fade.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're at all these World Nineball tours, and I talk to a lot of the top players, and of course you say top players, but you know, top 40, 50 guys. And they talk about beating guys like Carlo Biado like a feather in their cap, and some of them have never beat him. And So for this young man in his home country, and a lot of fans and family probably sweating it, what a win this would be. Let's see if he can finish. Tell you what, he's not shy of shooting him in with some speed. He's just fine here. He's just going to have to go to the top rail and back down a little bit. Oh, he's a little more elevated over the 9 than I imagined. Is it enough speed, though? It sure is. Sure is, Phil. Even, I think that was win on time, and they're sweating the match as well. Could be a bit of a mentor, you never know.
Just 2 shots away from one of the biggest shocks we've seen in World Nineball Tour history. And surely the outsider isn't going to miss this. In the end, it is a big yes for the man they call Ngo Quang Trung has beaten Carlo Biado, not just a victory, but a comeback victory. At his lowest ebb, he was 4-1 down, he was 6-3 down, and then Biado got on the hill at 8-5. But Ngo simply refused to capitulate. In the end, he wins 9-8. He will now play James Arenas in winners' qualification, and the road to the title for Biado is now strewn with obstacles. As Jeremy said, he has to win 3 matches on the 1-loss side now to make it to single elimination. Last 64. Are we going to lose one of the game's giants? That's not the concern of Ngo, though. He is through, and that is the story of day 1 of the Hanoi Nineball Open Championship without any question whatsoever.